Computer. Hello, friends, and welcome. We are doing our monthly recorded call a week early because we will be at Summit next week, our leadership summit. So Maggie and actually our guest speaker, Bree, she will be there with us. But I am so delighted that she said yes. And before we get started, okay, so everybody calls you Bree, but I know your name is it Brianna or Brianna? I always in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, it could be either or. Because my name's hard to pronounce too. And then I'm like, man, people say my name wrong all the time. So tell us how you say yours.
Yes, actually, funny story because I used to, it doesn't matter. Like you can call me whatever. And my husband was like, you actually can't say that. You have to care. So it's Brianna, but Bri
Yeah.
is great.
Okay, that's what I was telling my husband. And I was like, wait a minute, what if I'm wrong? Cool. All right. So if you are watching the replay and maybe you stumbled upon this on YouTube, I am Ariel and this is Maggie. This is our weekly connection group. We do one recorded monthly training, and everybody voted last week that they wanted somebody to teach them the ways of doing well on social media. And by that I mean being able to take good photos, how to get proper lighting, maybe what filters to use, just the kind of content to post on social media to be just more successful, to show your face more successfully and more confidently on the interwebs. So Bree was so gracious to say yes. And I told her this, but her name was specifically mentioned a couple times last week as somebody that our team looks up to for the incredible social presence that you have. So without further ado, I'm going to mute myself and give you the spotlight.
Yay, awesome. Okay, well, that is so fun. Well, I'm Brianna. I live here in Texas now without my sweet friend Maggie. But it's okay, she's thriving. So I am so honored to be here, and talking about social media and pictures is actually something that I feel like I just am like a broken record. I talk about this so often, but I actually really love it because picture taking and like getting that right, honing in on that, what I skill is like a huge passion of mine. It's something that I love to practice and I love to share about. So I am super thrilled that I was asked to be here and low key requested. That's really sweet. So yeah, I feel like you guys are probably going to know a lot of what I'm going to say about social media, but it does bear because um in this day and age with all the social media and all the things and this business being what it is important to remind ourselves just how powerful network marketing is in terms of social media being a free platform for you to share your business, right? And utilizing that to the best of your ability. And I'm going to get into the picture taking aspect, but I want you guys to again understand that it is a skill. It is something that you practice, and that it's something that you can once you captivate what you love about it and what you want your pictures to look like and what you want your brand to look like, it's something that you can then utilize in so many areas of your life, not just your business. Okay. But it has to be authentic to you, which is where I'm going to start with the social media part of it. So I joined in 2017, September of 2017. And the day that I joined, before I did my kit, anything, I was like, I'm joining, or I am creating a Facebook VIP group. That was my number one goal. I'm like, I'm going to create this group so I can have my customers join this group, and there can be a place for all of us to be, and I can be sharing Scentsy with people who actually want to hear it. I wasn't, funny enough, I have a love hate with social media, but back before Scentsy, I didn't post on social media a whole lot. And so I said, I'm going to be super consistent. And me creating that group was my commitment to consistency. And I said, I will not let a day go by in my VIP group where my customers do not hear from me at least once. Most of the time, it's more than that. And so I dove into my VIP group. And since September of 2017, the day that I joined, there has not been a day that I have not shown up in my VIP group, even when I'm sick, even when I'm traveling. My customers hear from me. So my first rule of thumb when it comes to social media and showing up at any social media platform is to find your level of consistency and commit to it. So I don't think that there is any like magic number of how many times you should post or anything like that. I think that you need to decide for your life and what your schedule looks like and what you can commit to, because the people who are watching, your customers, potential customers, potential teamies, they're all going to be looking at what is she actually doing? What is she actually committing to? Because so often, and I know we see it a lot in this social media or in this direct selling market, is a lot of people will join something and then they go really hard to the paint for, a couple weeks, maybe a month, and then all of a sudden they fall off and you don't hear from them and you're like, wait, where'd my person go? Right. And so I don't want to be that person. And I recommend that we don't be those people in our Scentsy business, because we want people to be able to count on us and us be reliable as their Scentsy consultant, right? So showing up consistently on social media is my number one. Consistency in your business across the board, but on social media, it takes consistency. Okay, we post 2020, we are experiencing people not being on social media a whole lot. People will take weeks before checking their Facebook, or they'll go days without it, or even people have gone off of Facebook and now they're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. So you really have to be consistent, because you can't post once this week and expect all of your people to see it, because not everybody is checking their social media every day, right? And so the actual push to be consistent is more important now than I think it ever has been. And so consistency, and then showing up authentically, which again relates to my picture taking notes that I'll give you in just a minute. But obviously that is a core value of Scentsy, and it's for a good reason, right? So however you choose to show up on social media, it needs to be authentic to you. And I stay very true to that, because I don't know how to be anybody else, quite frankly. And some days I don't even know how to be myself. So I just really lean into this idea that, like, I have decided this is who I am, and these are the parts about me that I feel like are most relatable, right? I'm not putting all of my business on social media, not every single little, not every thought goes on social media, not every fight or whatever, not everything goes on social media, but the parts about me that I feel like are most relatable, right? So me being a mother, me being a law enforcement wife, me living in Texas and loving it, me being a country music fan, me loving Scentsy, right? Uh, those things, me loving Friends, all of those things I feel like are the most relatable parts about me. So I spend my most of my time sharing about those things, my faith, right? How I show up with my church and for Jesus and those kinds of things. So I am talking about those on social media because that is authentically me, right? And so people, when they see my face on social media, I want them to not just think of me as a Scentsy person, but also think of me in all those other ways, right? Because then that builds connection. And this business is a relationship based business. If you are not extending yourself beyond being a Scentsy consultant to your customers, you're doing yourself a disservice. And the reason for that is that there's hundreds of thousands other Scentsy consultants, right? If that's the only piece of value that you bring to the table, I'm not saying you have to be best friends with all of your customers, because Lord knows I can't handle that either. But bringing you that you can then connect with your customers, which is why I utilize my VIP group, because I am free to be me. It's my group. And so I'm sharing friends memes and studies that I'm doing at church, all those different pieces of me. I am sharing that 100% in my VIP group. And I have so many customers that have connected with me on those different little pieces that I have shared, that now our relationship is deeper because of it, right? And now there's a loyalty there that wasn't there necessarily before, because I'm not just their Scentsy person, right? I'm their friend who has recommended a devotional that they really loved, or I'm their friend who loves Friends and we just share Friends memes all day long. Like, there are those aspects of my relationships with my customers that I would not have if I wasn't showing up authentically on my social media platforms. And let me just say, the two platforms that I use all the time, like I don't really use any other platform besides kind of YouTube, is Facebook and Instagram. So those are where I spend 99% of my time. And so same thing with Instagram, though. Um, okay, so on Facebook, I love to share this little tidbit on how I run my VIP group. In my VIP group, it is 80% Scentsy related in there, right? So I am sharing Scentsy pictures, I'm sharing what's coming, I'm sharing what I love, what I'm warming, all the things all day long, every day. And then it's 20% anything else. Right. So those little pieces of me that they get that are things that I want to share with them, that I want to connect with. What are you making for dinner tonight? Whose kids woke up wild this morning, like all of those things. That's 20% of what goes in the VIP group. On the flip side, on my personal page, I flip that on its head. So then it's 80% regular life, it's 80% my kids. You know, those are my friends, those are my family, those also are my customers, but I'm sharing 80% of my regular life, and then I'm throwing in 20% Scentsy because I have my VIP group where they're getting majority Scentsy. That's where they've chosen to be to see that content. My grandma didn't ask to see all of my warmers every single day for Wax Change Wednesday on my Facebook page. So I don't share that there all the time. So again, you can obviously what works for me may not work for everybody, and that's okay. That is just how I run it. I always get that question. So on Instagram, I focus on, which is my third point, more attractive marketing on my grid. So if you go to my Instagram page, you're going to see really pretty pictures. Like that's just what I love to take really pretty pictures. If you go to my stories, you see the mess. Okay. You get to know me on my stories and who I am, what my family's doing, what I look like first thing in the morning, me cleaning. Like you get to see that on my on my Instagram stories, but on my grid, I kind of lean into that idea that it's a highlight reel. And the reason for it is because Instagram, you get on Instagram to see pictures, right? And the picture is the first thing that you see. And that's that snapshot of a moment. It's the 10 seconds that you have of somebody's attention. What do you want to portray in that 10 seconds? What do you want to say about yourself in that one picture? If you only had one picture for somebody to see, what do you want that to say about you? How will you pull somebody in, right? So I've chosen to lean into, I'm going to try to bring people into my life, into my circle, into my network, into my business by posting really beautiful, what I think, this is totally just me tooting my own horn, good gracious. But I chose to post pictures that I think are really beautiful that would catch my attention, right? So I'm utilizing my own, okay, I got this and thinking, would this catch my eye? If I was scrolling, would I stop and look to see what the caption is? What's that warmer, whatever. And 80 to 90% of my Instagram grid is Scentsy because I created that Instagram for Scentsy. So I'm utilizing it for my business. And again, I want to pull people in to my life and into my business where they're following me. And then all of a sudden they're in my stories and they're seeing more of who I am. But I'm capturing them with a picture, hopefully, or with a reel, which I do occasionally. Okay. And I want them to take the time to get to know me in stories and through other pictures that I post on my Instagram. And that's worked for me. I have had, I think it was 2022, majority of my recruits that year came from Instagram. And I had so many new customers coming from Instagram, people who would have never found me but for Instagram. And matter of fact, I had somebody order on my website last week and I texted them and it wasn't a customer of mine that I knew about. I texted them, I said, hey, I always ask people, how did you find me? And she said, I just searched on Instagram Scentsy and I saw one of your pictures and I liked it. And so I ordered. Boom, so it's like, okay, so that works, right? People type in Scentsy. If you type in Scentsy snapshot, Scentsy consultant, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of pictures. You're going to have a bunch of different consultants, right? And it's literally, you have one picture or a couple of pictures. You only have that moment to capture somebody's attention, right? And people are on there looking for things. I had no idea people were searching for Scentsy consultants on Instagram, but it's happening, right? So you might only have one picture, and what's that one picture you tag Scentsy, hashtag Scentsy, is that going to draw somebody in, right? And different strokes for different folks, right? Different pictures will capture different people's attention, could be an interest, like you just never know. And so I think about what would attract me, and also who am I trying to attract, right? And so I ask myself those questions, but then I also ask, and this is important on social media across the board, what value are you adding? Right? So you always want to be adding value to your customers, to your audience, to the people you're speaking to. What is the value? And value doesn't necessarily mean you know the most in your field. It doesn't mean that you have all the answers. It could be comedic value, right? It could be that you do know a lot of things, or it could be that you have an interest in something very specific outside of Scentsy that adds value, and people come around for that, and then they get hooked on the fragrance aspect of your business, right? And so when you are posting on social media, again, it's a free platform for you to advertise yourself. And so how are you doing that? How are you selling yourself um, tied to your business? And so keeping on the attractive marketing aspect here, moving into the picture taking aspect. I feel like the tips I'm going to give you are super simple here. But like I said in the very beginning, it takes practice. I always tell my team, everything is figure it outable. Like, you can figure it out. And most everything you need to know in this business is a learned skill. Some people have a natural knack for it, okay? But then most people have to work really hard to produce the same or up to par results as you would expect, right? And so I just want to encourage you that if you're like, it feels like it's so far away to be able to take really great pictures, there are some tips that you can do, but the more that you do it, the better that you get, right? And also, I hate the comparison game, but there is something really powerful about being able to turn off the comparison part and being able to notice the value that other people are doing in that skill set and absorb it and make it your own, and recognize that they may be doing things that could help you make your own skill better, right? So what I have done in the past with picture taking is I have taken photography classes, and I've also gone online and looked at other beautiful pictures. And also I hashtag Scentsy Snapshot a lot for ideas on what pictures I want to take, or, and I make it my own. I don't take other people's pictures very often, if at all, because I'm like, I can create my own. I want to create my own. I want people to recognize my pictures, recognize my brand. And so I will go and recreate that picture in my own house, in my own kitchen, with my own hands, because I want people to recognize it. And I also recognize that I'm practicing my skill in doing that, right? So the first tip that I'll give you about picture taking is natural lighting. And I know not everybody is blessed with this in their home. One of my best friends, she lives in an apartment, and her apartment is very dark almost all the time. Like, it just does not face the sun, and like where the windows are, it's just not great at all. And so she tries really hard, and she takes really great pictures despite not having that natural lighting available to her all the time. But she will do her darndest, and sometimes not natural light. Sometimes it's having to force the light. But if you have the ability to do natural light, utilize that space in your home all the time, right? And you can do that by moving things around. You can do that by making that space readily available to you. So like, um, Brooklyn, I see that like there's a mirror and a window that I can see, right? So I'd be utilizing that window and that natural light because it's beautiful, right? And so you can get in front of that, take selfies with stuff. If you can get a table underneath that where or on the other side of the room, like where you are, get a table, put things on there so the natural light hits it. Like those are the things you need to walk into the rooms in your house and go, is the light coming in from here? Is it good lighting? Take pictures of yourself, take pictures of things, figure out different angles, right? Again, it is practice. It's practicing. It's walking through your home with that in mind, right? You're thinking, where would a good picture be taken in this room? Is this room usable? There's some rooms, like my laundry room doesn't have a light. And it's like I have laundry products up the wazoo, but it's like I don't have natural light in here. So it's very hard to take a good picture in my laundry room. Um, and so there's just spaces in my house that I'm like, oh, I can't really use it so much in here. But then like my office, you'll see a lot of pictures in my office because I have big old lights, right? Or big old windows right here. And then same thing in my living room and in my kitchen. I have really great lighting in there. And so you just have to take advantage of those rooms where there's natural light. And if you don't have natural light, you can bring in other light sources. I don't like flash in phones. Like I don't care how fancy your phone is. I feel like flash is just a terrible thing. I don't know why. But yes, ring lights are incredible for providing extra lighting, or providing light at all. But again, it's figuring out how to angle the ring light so it's not shadowed, right? And that's just something that you have to play with. But also YouTube is your best friend. Okay, there, just like in the Scentsy community, there are free videos about how to take really great pictures on YouTube. All you have to do is go and find them. Okay. Um, the other thing that I love to utilize, and you'll see it a lot, and bless Apple for their update they did like 6 months ago where you could change the focus on portrait mode. But I use portrait mode religiously on my phone. Okay, so I have an Apple phone. I it's been a long time since I've been an Android person, so I'm not sure if Android has a similar feature, but portrait mode, utilize that. There's also apps that you can do that will help you like blur out backgrounds and stuff like that. So if that's something that you have to turn to, there are apps for that. But portrait mode on Apple, play around with that. Apple came out with an update where now, like I used to struggle so hard trying to get what I wanted in focus because it wants to focus on your face, and then you go and take 10 pictures and it's like all of them were focused on your face instead of the wax bar. But now you can go into portrait mode, take the picture, you're in focus, and you can click edit and click on the thing that you want in focus and it will change the focus. And so yes, that's an incredible update. I see some people who may not have known that, but it is a fantastic update and it's changed the game for me because now I can willy-nilly it and figure it out on the back end. So portrait mode, also really great because when you're taking pictures, again, take a bunch of pictures of whatever you're doing, but ask yourself when you're looking at the pictures, where does my eye go? Where do I want other people's eyes to go? Is the focus the warmer or is the focus the ambiance? Is my focus actually over here when I want it to be on this wax bar? What do you want people's eyes to go to? And you are your own best uh observer in that way, right? And so take a bunch of pictures and then come back to them later and scroll through them and say, where does my eye land? Right? And ask yourself that. And if that wasn't what you intended, then you can go back and redo it. And figure out a new setup, play around with setups. There's nothing wrong, and have fun doing it. Like there's nothing wrong with spending some time. I recognize this can be kind of a fluffy part of your business, but the reality of it is that this is hands down attraction marketing, right? And so if we are not utilizing this tool that we have to attract people into our business, then you're going to have to do a lot of footwork in person, right? And so I do think pictures, there is a time and a place to spend time figuring this out and honing in on this skill. Okay. Um, so okay, taking really great pictures. Yes, portrait mode, all the things. But there is Something that I do to my pictures, people always ask me, they're like, what filter do you use? Because I can take really great pictures with natural lighting, but I do like to use a filter. And again, I'm not ashamed to say that I lean into like the more perfect aesthetics. I'm also not afraid to show the mess. So if you want to see mess, come into my stories, I'll show you the behind the scenes. But for the pictures that I'm posting, I do use filters. And I try to use very for the most part, natural filters, but my intention is I want my pictures to be bright. I want my pictures not to drown out color. I don't want them to uh, make the colors too bright that it washes it out, but I want my pictures to be bright. I want people to, when I look at it, I want to be happy. I want to think of a smile or the sun, you know. I want my pictures to bring joy. And there are other Scentsy consultants where their filters are a little bit more dark and they're warm and they're cozy. And I love that, right? Because you know their pictures when you see them. And so again, it goes back to branding. It's like, are you more of the warm and cozy? Do you lean into the fall and winter? Do you prefer a little bit of a warmer preset? Great. Like there's a preset I think for every single person on this earth. Like if you go to Etsy and you type in Lightroom presets, there are so many, so many. So you can play around with it, try it out, test it out, see which ones you love. But I love a preset that is bright, that brings out color, and that just makes it feel like it's a bright, sunshiny day. Okay, so the app that I use for that is Lightroom, and I am not going to guarantee you that the process in which I do this is the simplest process, but I got into a habit and now I can't get myself out of it, so it's really fun. So Lightroom is an app that you can download, I believe for Android as well. It's also something that you can do on your desktop. I've never done that before. I like it on my phone, which is rare because usually I don't do that, but I do like the Lightroom app. I do pay for it. Again, tax write-off. I do pay for it. I don't know if you have to pay for it 100% to do certain things. I'm not sure. I should know, but I don't. I'm sorry. And then I have a lot of presets in my folder that I've gotten from Etsy, or I follow some pages and I'll go and download theirs. And sometimes I play around with them. Sometimes I use them on my photos and I'm like, this looks nothing like I wanted it to look. So then they just sit there and I never delete them. I can't tell you the name of the preset that I use because it does not have a name on it and I've had it for years. So I am so sorry. But if you go to Etsy and you type in Lightroom presets, you will find thousands. My favorite packages are the light and airy. Light and airy. There's a bunch of different versions of them. There's some that are cooler, brighter, warmer, different packages that will come with multiple presets that you can use. And you can play around with it, figure out which one you love. But light and airy is a great preset starter pack to explore with. And Lightroom and the preset part of it is just something that you're either going to have to YouTube or play around. And I always tell my team, you're not going to break your phone. You're not going to break your phone. Get on your phone, play around, press some buttons, figure it out, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I had to do that. I didn't have anybody with me to teach me. It was a trial and error process. And then once you figure it out, first of all, you'll be so proud of yourself. And then second of all, you open up a whole new door of opportunities for your pictures. And I think that presets and filters can make somebody feel very, very confident in their picture taking, because it just adds like an extra layer of attractiveness. And I don't think that you need it. You absolutely do not need it. But there's an extra little umph. And so if you want to explore that, I recommend it. If that is something that you're interested in. But you can absolutely do so much with natural lighting and portrait mode, which come pretty standard on, or the portrait mode, I think, come pretty standard on phones. But natural lighting, that's something that everybody hopefully has access to. So that is my my tips.
So good. Does anybody have any additional questions? I didn't see any coming through. There was good commentary though coming in. So
I had
question
a
for,
question and I forgot.
do you want to,
Um,
write it down? Think about it, think about it and then,
yeah.
okay. Well, did it have to do with the photos or the showing up on social media?
Oh, I remember. So she mentioned that she has a separate Instagram for her Scentsy. So with me, on my whatever I post on Facebook, it automatically goes to my Instagram. Does she have it like that as well, or no?
No. So I only have one Instagram. So when
Mhm.
I say separate, I only have one. And then I think at one point my Instagram stories were connected to my business page on Facebook. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't like to have it post for me. I like to
Okay.
go do it. So no, I
Okay.
don't have it connected in that way.
Okay. It must be an option I chose at one point. I'll have to
Yeah.
go fix it.
Yeah.
I do know that with everything that you post, you can have the option to cross post, so you can pick and choose as well.
Okay.
It's just like a toggle that you choose when you're getting ready to post.
Ah,
Yeah,
I think I remember seeing that now.
cool. I think something really important that Brie mentioned was that she got a customer last week because somebody random searched Scentsy and found something that they liked that drew them to her. And I heard this on a training. I snuck in on a Pinterest training a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was really cool. But people are using social media as search engines, and so this is a really awesome time to remind myself that I need to put Scentsy on everything, right? Like you may need to make sure that it's Scentsy, home decor, whatever it's trying to like tag it like that, because people are searching hashtags. They're using it as if it were just a Google search engine to be able to find what they're looking for. So that was a really solid reminder.
And it's true too that people do recognize your photos. Like
100%.
my old kitchen in Texas and Bree's kitchen were almost identical. And so literally people would get our kitchens confused all the time. They're like, okay, this is either Maggie's picture or Bree's picture. We're not really sure which one. But there's also something to be said for like, look at Bree's desk. You'll see a lot of pictures, that pattern in the background, because it's recognizable. That is like her brand is that pattern. It's the backsplash in her kitchen. There's another leader that she posted the rainbow warmer and she has like a certain wallpaper in the background in her office. And I've never seen it necessarily, but apparently a lot of people were tagging her like, we knew it was your picture because it's your wallpaper. So if you don't have a great space in your house, like a large space, like a whole room, find something that's similar to Bree's desk or a specific plant, or even if it's just like a box that you cover in some like sticky wallpaper that you get from the store and use that as a background. Find one window in your house that gives a really great natural lighting, set that up and then put the product in front of it. Even if you don't want to be in the picture, if you can find something that's super authentic to you, a couple patterns, a couple props, whatever, will recognize that as your brand, as your picture. You don't need a watermark. Like that becomes your brand. And I'm the same way. I try not to use a lot of people's pictures. But at the same time, right now, with the space that I have and the certain season that I'm in my life, I don't really have another option. But if I am going to borrow someone's picture, I usually go to someone that has the same aesthetic as me. So I will borrow Bree's pictures or some of Ariel's pictures because we have the same aesthetic that works for our brand. Obviously you want to make sure that you're changing the caption. You don't ever want to use the exact same thing as somebody else. You want things to be fully authentic to you or as much as it can be. But figure out what that is and go with that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a full room. You don't have to fully redecorate your entire house. Get a Scentsy box that has already come to you. Get some sticky wallpaper at Walmart for $5 a roll and make yourself a little prop station and have that be where you take your pictures. It can be super, super simple. So if you don't have a lot of options, even I can't really tell, Brooklyn, what your curtain is. Like you can even use a curtain that you have in your house, a sheet. Like nobody knows. If you have a good enough lighting and you have a good, not even a good camera, but like use portrait mode on your phone, you can totally use what you already have and create a certain branding aesthetic for yourself.
I think
Yeah,
I
and
like those curtains, just as a fun side note.
the curtains are beautiful. I want them. Yeah.
They came from Target, by the way. I don't know if they're still there, but they have blue too.
On Target so much. Yes, this desk, I wallpapered this desk. This is sticky wallpaper. So literally I was like, this has good lighting. So, and I want to be able to utilize, and my desk had, like from like doing counter clean samples, the paint had like came off of it on certain places. And I was like, well, that looks ugly. So let me just wallpaper it. And that's what I did. So it cost me 20 bucks on Amazon and like 30 minutes and boom. So another great option.
Good idea. I'm gonna have to do my desk because it's just brown.
Yeah, it's a super cheap way to like totally change something. And now I want to do like a wall in my, I feel like I'm like, wow, now I can do anything, and wallpaper is not that easy. So
Yeah, well, and if you follow Ray Ray, she
Yes.
has that wall behind her desk that's like that
Oh.
beautiful green. She did that by hand. That's not even wallpaper. She literally like painted the wall, and then she took like a foam brush and just made a bunch of lines all over the whole wall. I mean, it took her hours, but she has a reel of her doing it like time lapse. So even if wallpaper is not the right thing for you, you can literally like do anything and have that be like a signature and part of your look.
Wow.
I'm gonna see if I can
Interesting.
find a picture of it.
I actually,
Years ago, so you'd have to search, but
yeah, I've been trying to empty out some stuff at my house so I can change the aesthetic because I'm like out with the old and in with the new. And part of that has been my desk area because you guys are inside of my desk right now. And it's like this giant armoire thing. And it's not my favorite color. It doesn't necessarily match, but it has such utilitarian value that I haven't been able to let it go
Mhm.
until I get it. So I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
Sticky wallpaper stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Such a good idea.
I have often thought about using the fake backgrounds, but what do you guys think about those?
What do you mean fake backgrounds?
Where you can when you get ready to do a Zoom, somewhere it has said choose your own background. And so when I do Zooms, when I'm talking to coworkers or whatever, they always have like something pretty, and I'm like, God, that's a nice background. They're like, oh yeah, it's just a background, it's not really my dining room.
I mean, those have their place. If it's a professional time and you're like, man, I didn't clean up. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
But it won't have any Scentsy on it, so I might have to make my own background. I'm gonna have to play with that. 'Cause
Yeah.
this is my background now. It's just my
Yeah.
bedroom,
I'll just play around with it, see what works.
Yeah.
I found a picture of Ray Ray. She did all
Oh,
okay.
cool.
That is so cool for her. I love that.
Lulu, I'm right here.
Also, Rachel Pins has a really beautiful in her little thing. She's got a really beautiful background.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's paint or wallpaper.
I think it's wallpaper.
yeah. And Rachel also has 5 children. So
Yes.
literally she keeps like one teeny tiny, her house is tiny, like 800 square feet,
Yeah.
very small. And she keeps like, it's a very small portion of her home between like the bathroom and her bedroom or between 2 bedrooms. And she just has a little table and a mirror, and she just decorates that. And that's where you'll see most of her pictures.
Mhm.
So like free yourself from thinking your whole house has, like Bree said, your whole house does not have to be clean. And that I'm speaking to myself too, because I'm terrible about that.
Amen.
But yeah, if Rachel Pence has a very clear aesthetic as well.
Mhm.
Everybody knows her pictures. So yeah, very similar.
But like Bree was saying, use those people as inspiration. If somebody posted is like a vibe you love and that brings you joy, figure out how to make that work for your business and to bring that into your aesthetic so that it just becomes part of how you represent yourself and your brand. Cool. Does anybody else have any other questions? Brooklyn, you raised your hand and then did your hair. I'm not sure if that was
Actually just scratching my head deciding, but no, I just commented. I was like, this just makes me like even more excited to be able to change the stuff that I wanted to do in my home anyway. Cause a lot of this is like, I do have good lighting in a lot of rooms, like Bree was saying, it's just being able to like work it in the right angle. And with 3 kids myself and, you know, being in a smaller home, like you're working off a utilitarian value for pretty much everything. Like probably like Rachel is, you said 5 kids and 800 square feet. And I about lost my whole head right there because I can't imagine. But no, I like a lot of the ideas. Because whenever I had mentioned last week, I was like, I just don't know how to do it. Like I take the best pictures I can. I do utilize portrait mode. I didn't know about the separate focus thing because I'm not familiar with a lot of Apple's stuff that they have on there. I used to be a Droid user. I've only had Apple for probably about a year and a half. And like my daughter still teaches me things on there that I didn't even know was a thing. I just figured out that you could switch to text too. And I thought that was just Droid. And that was like 2 weeks ago. So, you know, if I reach
don't
out
feel
to
bad.
have a question about something, it's probably just how to actually use my own phone.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
as you guys are exploring and playing around with this, I'd love it if you could like share on our team groups just like what you're doing, maybe the lessons that you're learning too, because it could be something that could help somebody else as you're maneuvering, playing around with, hey, this worked for me, this didn't, you know, this lighting was great, this ring light sucks, you know, whatever the case may be. Would love to hear the progress, because I know last week you guys were so excited to like deep dive into this, and so now you have the tools, you have some of the knowledge, and I can't wait to see the action that you guys take.
Have fun with it.
Thank you so much, Bree.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate your time and the nuggets that you shared up front about social media in general. I took notes and I am super excited to go through this again.
Yay. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us this week. And if you have any friends who need to see this replay, who you think they could benefit from it, make sure you share the link. And we'll see you guys not next week, but after. All right. Bye, friends.
Thank you.